I think we'll just wait. Just share the links in case so that people can join once they start joining with
All right, sir.
that session. Let me. Oh dear, sorry. Let me send. Some were getting quorum, isn't it? Let me move to your lecture. Oh, hi, Nation Boy. I'm sharing the link. Please share it with your people. Okay, good. Let's move to your lecture. What is happening here? Are we going in a cycle? Why is it 12 slides? It's like there's something wrong. Just give me 2 seconds. Why are we having... oh no, I see where the problem is. Okay. Let me just have a look. Thought this has all. Okay, good. You need to keep sharing the link so that everyone will benefit. Okay, so good. Welcome, Ibrahim. Happy New Year. Okay. Yep. So we're almost there, guys. Keep sharing. Good. We're having some new people. So before we get into it, if you have a question, just to recognize, I think we have Ibrahim Alpha. Nation Boy was with us in the morning. Ibrahim Arfa, welcome. Ruben Mabur, welcome. Musa Tukur Mahmood, welcome as well. Good. Please do share the link. I've shared the link with you, so I could share it in your WhatsApp group. I think, does anyone? Yes. Now, Simon, welcome as well. Are we ready to start? Please keep sharing on your Facebook. Share the link on your Facebook. Joshua, I think we should start, isn't? If anyone has a question before we start, let me know so I can take it before we start. Otherwise, we're about to start now. All right, you can crack on, Joshua.
The lecture 1 and lecture 2 in the morning, and we're trying to look at the basic concept in aquaculture, and then we'll look at we try to look at the factors that influence carrying capacity in water, where we look at the water quality, the fish, the species and size, the feed, the nutrients, and we try to look at the overview of intervention level and carrying capacity. Now, for the lecture 3, we are going to look at factors influencing growth rate. Factors influencing growth. Of course, we are going to look at the water quality, the age and genetics, the fish health, the size, the stocking density, and the production rate. Now, let's look at the growth rate. When we talk about growth rate, what do we mean? We're talking about is the velocity at which an organism or a population of organisms gain weight over a given period of time. Now, fish has to grow. Fish has to grow. And then before a fish grow, you have to look at some certain factors. Now, there is a question somebody will ask, how fast does a fish grow? Now, for a fish to grow fast, it depends on the species and the circumstances in which it lives. Maybe say for example, let's say for example, a small fish that get plenty of food can reach an adult size of 12 weeks. Large species that struggle to feed live in water that is on cold side, or what they cannot tolerate, they can take several years to grow because the water is unconducive for them. Now, another question somebody might ask, what is the absolute growth of a fish? Now, the highest or perfect growth of fish is from embryonic to sensitient period. And then we are meant to understand that the fish that grows the highest rate, we have the dorado, the mahi, and the dolphin fish. These are the fish that grows the highest rate. Now, the growth rate depends on the number of organisms or population of organisms that gain weight over a long period of time. So, if you feed your fish well, of course they will gain weight. But if you don't feed them well, of course, you have some kind of lapses. Now, this graph is trying to tell us there's an increase. You see where the graph curve, the line curve, it told that there's increase in average individual fish weight between the stocking T1 and T2, where T1 has to do with the stocking and then T2 has to do with the harvest. Now, factors influencing growth rate of a fish. There are some factors that influence, that will stop your fish to grow. Number one, we are talking about the water quality, the water temperature, the age, the health, the genetics, the size, and the stocking density. Of course, if your water quality is poor, of course it will affect the lifespan of the fish. Of course, if the temperature of the water is high, of course it will cause it will make the fish to be inconvenienced inside the water. Of course, if the fish if the body temperature, if the fish is sick, of course it will not be good for that fish to what? Grow because of the health of that fish. Of course, the genesis also is one of the factors influencing growth rate. We also have the size and the stocking density. Now, when we look at the age and the genesis, if environmental and natural factors are not accounted for, the growth rate is directly proportional to the maximum potential size attainable. Meaning to say, we have to consider the environmental and the nutritional factor of that fish that you are putting into consideration. Because if you not consider, of course, it will affect the growth rate, and then it will also affect the maximum potential size of that particular fish. Of course, large fish at maturity grow more rapid than small fish at maturity. When a fish is large, when a fish is big at maturity, it grow more faster than when the fish is small at maturity. But do you know that there are some fish, they are matured when they are mature, but they are still the size of the fish is still small. Why? Because of let me say, maybe the water quality, maybe the person in question is not feeding the feed well, or maybe the fish is having some kind of health challenges. That is it. You see, that's why you see you bring a fish at the same time, but you look some other fish will grow, you leave the other ones. Okay, that's what we will call sorting. We have to sort them in order for them to grow at the same period of time. Now, when we look at this graph, it's trying to tell us it's a graph of growth rate against the age. So as the fish is growing, of course, it will reach a sexual maturity. It reach a maturity in which the growth rate has reached its elastic limit. Just like I said, the number of weeks in which you can dispose your fish is from 1 to 2 weeks. But of course, e has to undergo some kind of processes from egg to larva to fry to fingerlings or juveniles. Down from juveniles down to the adult stage. It is when it reach the adult stage is the stage in which e can no longer grow again. That's where you are supposed to what? Dispose it or sell it out for human consumption. Let's go to the next slide. Fish health. Fish health. Of course, every fish has its own lapses. It depends on how you treat the fish. Fish that are in poor health will not grow as rapidly as fish that are in excellent health at all. Because when you bring a fish that is in poor health, it will not grow as a fish that are in or fishes that are in excellent health. Why? Because they will be facing their health challenge because of the viruses that is eating them inside. At the end of the day, maybe along the way, the fish will die if they did not receive a proper treatment. And maybe at times we will bring a fish healthy, and then we'll see along the way the fish will decide to face some kind of health challenge. Why? Maybe because of the water quality, just like I mentioned, maybe because of the water temperature, okay, or maybe the fish does not have enough genetic or age or size of the fish per se. Maybe that's the reason why the fish will not look at healthy as the way e be. Now, poor health of fish can have several causes, such as handling during stocking and harvesting, unfavorable water temperature, which just like I said, Unfavorable water temperature is one of the contributing factors. Like the lecture 1 or 2 that we look at, that the key things that we need to consider before stocking fish, we have to look at the water quality. But once if the water quality is not normal, of course it will affect the health of the fish. Of course, another is the poor water quality, and the last one is the what? The nutritional deficiency. Of course, look at these pictures. We'll look at, this is a fish that are being inside a dissolved oxygen. Well, look at, of course, a dissolved oxygen kill fishes. Well, look at this fish. All of the fishes died. Nobody will survive. None of the fishes will survive because it will affect them. Once there is a dissolved oxygen inside the water, of course, it will affect the fish. And also, the second one we look at, this is a fish that is infected by some kind of bacterial diseases. So once it is infected, and then if it did not receive a kind of proper treatment, of course it will affect the health of the fish. The next one is the size. The size. They say the smaller the size, the higher its relative growth potential, but the lower its absolute growth potential. The larger the fish, the larger the relative growth potential, and the higher its absolute growth potential. The smaller the fish, the higher its basic metabolic rate. Though more food per unit of the fish weight is needed for a small fish to reach maximum and maintain maximum growth capacity than for a larger fish. Okay, now all this are example that we can see. Let me say fry to feed 8 to 10% of a body weight per day. So for a fry, it is advisable for the person who is in charge of fish farming. Of course, you should feed it 8 to 10% of a body weight per day. Then for fingerlings, it is advisable for one to feed 1 grams to 100 grams and to feed 5% of body weight per day. Then for stockers, of course, it is advisable for one to what? To use 10 grams to 500 grams and to feed 3% of a body weight per day. When we talk about 3% and then 5%, of course, you have to divide this 3% by 100 before you what? You feed it. Then the food size is 500 grams to 1000 grams are fed 2% of a body weight. So all this we are trying to do, this is just give us an insight on how to feed your fish. Stocking density. When the critical standing crop is reached, the following rules apply. It's a condition. When the critical standing crop is reached, the following rules apply. Number one, the higher the stocking density, the lower the average weight of the fish harvested. Now, the relationship between stocking density and fish size at harvest. Now, when we look at this graph, this is a graph of harvest against stocking density. Now, this means that the stocking density need to be controlled. To do this, there are several techniques. It need to be controlled. If not, number one, we have to drain or sieve the pond or tank every 1 or 2 years to remove all the fishes. We have to drain it. This is number one techniques that we need to do in order for the stocking density to be controlled. For every 1 to 2 years, not 1 to 2 months, no 2 months, not 3 months, not 4 months, but what? Every 1 or 2 years. Number two, of course, we have to avoid fish to reach sexual maturity or be able to spawn in a cultured unit. The third one is polyculture with a predator. Carnivorous fish can be used to control density. Of course, I've tried to explain to us what a polyculture is in our first class. That I said it's a practice of growing mixture of different crops together in order to enhance productivity, reduce the need for chemical fertilizer, and provide natural protection against disease and pests. So that's what polyculture means. And of course, the polyculture with a predator can be used to control density. And then the second one is a monosex culture. Monosex culture. When we talk about monosex culture, what do we mean? We are trying to look at it is a culture of either all male or all female population. Yes, it's a sought after approach in aquaculture. A culture of either all male or all female population. Now, there's a culture in tilapia. Now, one of the culture in tilapia is the pond culture, which is the most popular method of growing tilapia. And then one of the advantage is that the fish are able to utilize natural food. Management of tilapia pond range from extensive system using an organic or inorganic fertilizer to intensive system. Now, mark what I said. The management of tilapia pond has to do the pond ranges from extensive system using organic or inorganic fertilizer to intensive system using high protein feed, aeration, and water exchange. And then there's an advantage of monoculture. And of course, every should have advantage must have disadvantage. Now, for the advantage of monoculture, monocell culture, he said because of monocell culture, especially all male fish, has many advantages such as lack of spawning, rapid growth, and uniform size and high body weight. So this is the advantages of monoculture. And then the monosex tilapia culture has to do with the separating the male tilapia and raising them separately. That's what mono as e play inside. Mono one, die is two. So you have to separate the male tilapia from the female, separating them differently in order for one to raise them. And this separation is called monosex tilapia fish farming. And of course, this type of fish grow fast and will adopt to supplementary feed. And of course, one can raise them in high density and they never make hole in the pond for breeding. Now, another question is that what makes tilapia grow faster? You know, we have catfish, which is the Clara garipinus, and we also have the tilapia. And then if one have to feed tilapia to grow faster, of course, one have to feed them at least 5 times daily. 5 times daily. One has to feed them 5 times daily. If you want to grow, maybe you have a stipulated time that you want to harvest your fish. Let me say in the next 3 months. Okay, I want to harvest my fish. Of course, you have to feed them intensively 5 times daily. Because when you feed them 5 times daily, it will make the tilapia to grow faster. And then it can be developed to more than 1 kg in 7 to 8 months, as the case may be. As the case may be. Okay, what if the size of the pond is 1,000? I have 1,000 tilapia fish. How am I going to do about that? Maybe I have a capacity of 1,000 tilapia fish. What am I going to do? Of course, you have to separate them. Just like Dr. Aja said, you have to separate. Maybe you separate 500 into what? 500 in order for the fish to grow fast. All right. Size. Okay, we've looked at the size. Now, let's look at this. Okay, yes, stocking density, that's what we are. We are trying to look at the monosex culture, which I've explained that has to do with the separating the male and the female tilapia fish into different separating them into different size from the male to the female. And under the monosex culture, we have the limit spawning area or habitat, we have the sterile animal, and the spawning repression. Now, we want to talk about sterile animal. What does it mean? We are talking about a failure or any single functional event in either sex that leads to infertility or sterility. And then we are also, okay, there are some animals, but there are some fish that are born sterile. We have the moose and the hens. Now, the monosex culture, under monosex culture, we have limit spawning area of or habitat. Of course, the habitat, you know, that is a dwelling place of any living organism. We have the sterile animals, we have the spawning regression. Now, before I proceed to the next slide, I want us to understand what this stocking density is all about. I want us to understand what this stocking density all about. Now, the stocking density, just like I said, is the number of stock per hectare on an grazing area or unit at any one time, and it's usually used to describe the number of stock per unit area in high density grazing situation. Now, talking about the stocking density of a fish, it refers to either the number or mass of fish in a given amount of water. In a given amount of water, of course, we have to consider the number or mass of fish. Now, by identifying appropriate stocking density for fish can be more complex than for terrestrial animal, as fish inhabit a three-dimensional environment. So, for like other animal, it's not as that difficult as that of of fish. Reason because they inhabit a three-dimension environment. Now, producers should strive for 100% stocking density in most situations, as they balance cow comfort, productivity, and economic stability. Now, the stocking density. Now, there's the best stocking density. Now, the present study stated that a stocking density is up to 100 fish per meter cube, resulted to similar weight gain and SGR, but this was reduced to the highest density of 125 fish per meter cube. Now, the best stocking density, you can use 125 fish per meter cube. So that is it. Now, the production rate. The production rate. Above the critical standing crop, above the critical standing crop, if the growth rate decreases as a smaller rate than the increase in stocking density, the increase in the production rate occur. If growth rate decreases at a higher rate than the increase in stocking rate, then the production rate drops. The
Let's
maximum
answer
production
it.
rate.
Sam, let's answer a few questions. So
All right, sir.
I think someone has asked, Ash has asked, how do we separate the tilapia so as to have one sex? So there are two ways you do it, yeah? So when you get them very young, around the phrase, you can effectively sterilize them. So how fish grow is tilapia has the ability, is like hermaphrodite. So tilapia is scientific name is Homeochromis noloticus. So it has the ability to either be male or female. So one way is they can grow them from early one way that you can grow them early is to make them one sex by the way you feed them from free. The second way is, if you cannot do so, which is the preferred way. So when you are buying the tilapia from the farm, you need to tell them specifically. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I just need to collect food. Hello? Coming. So I have someone that is delivering. So when you are buying from the farm, you need to tell them that I like monosex. So they will give you male or female. Sometimes the farm are not trustworthy or they don't know. Yeah, so if that's the case, what you have to do is you have to grow them. Tilapia is a little more difficult to tell the sex species. We'll teach you a different training on sex species identification. Usually it will take about 4 to 6 weeks before you can tell the difference between male and female. Now, once you know that, what now happens is you now use sorting to solve that problem. Yeah? Sorry, guys. So you will use sorting to solve that problem. Therefore, you sort the male. All right. Now, I was just moving around. No problem. That's right. Yep. All right. Okay. Some of the food have arrived. So, yeah, so you use your sorting to solve the problem. Yeah?
Yeah.
The food has arrived. Don't worry, there's fish inside, no fear. So you can use sorting to sort the problem out. So for tilapia, you need a bit of what's it called now? You need a bit of skill to sort it out. So you need about 4 to 6 weeks for you to be able to tell male from female tilapia. So that's the thing. But the best way to deal with that situation in tilapia is from the beginning, yeah, just make sure that they give you monosex. If you've missed it, then you have to wait. We'll teach a different training on how to tell the difference. I don't know if I've answered that question. Then in terms of feeding rate, I mean, there's no one formula to feed. There are few tables we can give you to guide you. Now, you can feed per kg, but roughly, the amount of feed you need at different stages varies. And what you feed to them at different stages varies. The training on Saturday will deal with the different types of feed. So you have crumble feed, you have pillated feeds. You have conventional and unconventional feed. Yeah, so it depends on the pond. So if you are using 18 pond, you probably just tend to need a bit of supplementary feed. So in tilapia, roughly for all of the catfish, roughly you feed them twice a day. Roughly, you feed them twice a day. Yeah? And you feed morning and evening. So that's the rough feeding. Feeding a little more and a little less would depend on the species. So except hybrid, but for starters, just know that you feed roughly twice a day. So in terms of measurement to take, so you can feed per gram of fish that you have if you want to be more scientific about it. So let's say you have 500 grams. So we have a table and each fish is supposed to. So roughly, let me just teach you. So there's something called FCR, is feed conversion ratio. It varies at different states. So the younger the fish, the more protein they will need, yeah, for growth and development. Then if you want to supply them energy, you tend to supply that with carbohydrates. Then you need to also supply that with partly fat. And the problem is, for you to do that, for most fish feed formula, you need something called fish meal. Fish meal is very expensive if you are making the formula. So sometimes people can't afford it. They look for alternatives. One rough alternative of fish meal is blood meal. Now, blood meal is very available. Let me just break down. Fish meal, yeah, forget about the name. You know how you take crayfish and you
Yeah.
pound it, or you take fish, that's fish meal. It's just meal coming from fish. It's high in protein and it's easily digestible. Blood meal, like the name implies, you take blood, you evaporate the water. Blood contains a lot of protein, yeah, and then you dry it and then you use it. Now, blood meal is easily available in Nigeria because there are many abattoirs. However, the abattoir people eye don't open, so you may see that they are making blood meal more expensive. You also need to be careful where you collect your blood meal. And the reason is blood meal can easily be contaminated because blood is culture. So you get me. So blood is culture. And I was teaching one of the other people that if someone has an infection or a bacteria, one of the way to grow that bacteria is to put it in blood agar. So blood agar is literally blood or chocolate agar. So it's the same thing. So, but for Nigeria, we also have formulas we can give you if you want to produce your fish feed yourself. There are ways to produce it easy, ways to produce it complicated. So fish meal, you can either go and look for dry fish dust, which they tend to be quite expensive, or crayfish dust, or you can buy fish meal from a regular company. So those are the options. So if you're using a formula that has fish meal, that's the way to go about it. Blood meal is easy. It's not very difficult to get. You just need to collect blood where they kill animals regularly and then boil the blood until all the water, then let it dry, it becomes cake, and then you crush it. That's it. Blood meal done. The other option that you may use is something called carcass meal. I don't encourage it much because carcass just means like carcass. Again, abattoir, all those bone that has some meat, you take it, you process it, you dry it, you crush it, you have carcass meal. Or you have bone meal. So bone meal is the same thing. You take the bone, you boil the bone, you crush the bone. So the first basic. For most of the carbohydrate in Nigeria, there are many options for you. One of the option is soya bean. I'm sorry, protein. So you can get animal protein, soya bean. Yeah. The other thing you can get is maize, and then you can get maize bran and wheat bran. Maize bran, there's nothing complex about maize bran. It's what Hausa people call surfe. I don't know what you say it, call it in Yoruba or whatever. So when you want to make like local semo, you take your maize and you put it in that engine that peel the back. That's all. That back that is peeled is maize bran, is of fiber.
Yeah.
So that's maize bran. It's very easy to get in Nigeria in most parts, at least as far as I know in northern Nigeria, before the infiltration of semo and the rest. So it's easy to get. You can use rice bran as well. Again, rice bran is the same thing. In the local rice mills, the rice back. Then the one that may be a bit tricky is wheat bran. So these are the other things you use in the formula. And then soya bean. Yeah. Now, as you are going down, the other thing that is difficult to get is fish oil. So that's the challenge people get. So people have used in their formula palm oil or vegetable oil. But if you are using a proper formula, the percentage of fish oil is not much. So fish oil is really oil from fish. The simplest way to get it is you need to go to where fish market where they kill fish and collect all those viscera. We'll do a video and show you how it's made. Boil it, decant the oil. It's very difficult to come by and it's extremely expensive. I think I bought 10 liter in the UK for £50. £50 is like what, 120,000. So it's a problem on its own. So people have used palm oil. Then people have used granite cake, which is kulikuli. Granite cake is kulikuli. Again, fairly easy to get, depending on what part of Nigeria you are. If you are where they make a lot of granite oil, like Kano, especially, then you just need to speak to the factories. It will be quite cheap. Then the rest is vitamin premix is easy. You can buy it from Lagos or wherever who has. So this is the basic for those that want to produce their fish feed. The other extremely expensive thing to do is to buy the production line. So it is extremely expensive. You need around, I think, 12,000 US dollars only for the machine without shipping cost. So if you're a small farmer, the smart thing to do, just partner with people that have the setup. So we have the setup. So what you need to do, email Sam. If you have a formula, give him. He will assess your formula, see whether it makes sense. If you don't have a formula, we'll give you one, and then we'll produce it in our mill. We'll charge you a fair, of course, we'll have to charge you because of there's electricity and what have you. And then we'll send it down to you. I don't think there's a place where we can't send it to. It's just that you need to factor the cost, because the problem of buying foreign feed throughout is a major challenge. Yeah. So what you want to do is you probably want to use foreign feed for a while and then make your own. So I think I've said so much. Any other question on and then the machines are basically you need, if you are going to the production itself, you need basically ideally 4 machines. You need something that will crush whatever you want to use. You need something that will mix it. You need something that will convert it to fish floating pellets. And you need something that will dry it so that you can store. Because when you make the feeds, they rarely last longer than anytime between 8 to 12 weeks. Okay. Hi, Adama, Gerard, Dogara, Menace, and everyone. So we've been having this conversation. Again, if you want to come up, you have something you want to share, yes, I'm happy to bring you and do ask questions. I think some people that came towards the end, I'll just quickly do a recap for you. I won't go through the same lecture, but the idea for lecture 3 is you want to look at factors that influence growth rate. So it's like any growth of any. So what are those factors? One, water quality. We've talked extensively about the water quality. I talked of pH, I talked of ammonia, I talked of nitrite, I talked of some people talked of hardness and turbidity and things like that. And I said, if you are going to do things at scale, then you probably want to measure water quality, but it's quite expensive. So if you are a small farmer, my recommendation is change the water 2 to 3 times a week. You need to factor all that like that, but roughly that should be fine. The age and genetics, like I said, when you are buying the phrase, inspect what you are buying. The juveniles, inspect what you are buying. Keep records. When you buy from different farms, compare the outcome. Yeah. In our setup, I always say if you have the space, keep a little setup. That's the scientific pond. So you are going to do all of your experimentation, trying to understand. Then fish health, just like anything, they have physical health. So one of the ways is look at their movement. Yeah. And if you can, have a collaborate with either people from animal science or vet doctors, so that some of the fish can study them. There's an extensive course on fish diseases, which is beyond the scope of this. I think I need to get a vet to come and teach. So they will teach, parasites, bacteria, how to prevent them, and things like that. But we will do an extensive course on that. Then the size, how size influence the growth. The younger they are, Joshua gave absolute growth, relative growth, all of those. Don't forget this lecture is on the channel for free. We've paid more than 100,000 just to be able to host it, data, StreamYard, all of those things. So it's entirely free. You just need to go there on your data and watch it. Then stocking density, extensively talked about capacity and crop yield in the previous lecture. Therefore, at the different age that you are, you need to mind how much you are stocking. Otherwise, what you are creating is you are creating safe condition for food, water, waste, and it will increase mortality. Now, we talked about production rate. So I won't go too much on growth rate, but the growth rate, you can see it goes at it uses a sigmoid curve. What you want to have, if possible, is this one that is straight. So one of the good things with fish, even if you are doing the wrong thing, you can do catch up growth. So when you get the proper, now apply it. And I say to people, do not invest in anything, regardless whether it's fish farm or anything. Now, people have a high tendency to go and start investing in things they have extremely poor knowledge of. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you understand what's going on. I've seen people that have gone to fetch gutter water, and people that have gone to take sewage water and put in their fish ponds. And you come into a business, you don't understand the advantage and disadvantage of, for instance, earthen pond, concrete pond. You don't know which applies to which. Someone kept telling us, trampoline, you are supposed to fertilize. You cannot fertilize trampoline. Why? Because you are changing the water every 2-3 days. So what you are just wasting your fertilizer. Yeah, so you fertilize where you don't change the water often, and that's for like an earthen pond in most cases. If you have a space that belongs to you and is yours for a long time, then you want to consider concrete pond, because the investment at the beginning may be high, but if you have it for more than 5 years, I've said, then my recommendation, do concrete pond. If you are not sure, me and this landlord go quarrel, me and my brother will have difference, somebody will fall out of the business. Do trampoline. You can move your structures, take it somewhere. Business doesn't work out, you can sell most of it. You do concrete, you cannot uproot the concrete and sell. Yeah, you do concrete, you change your mind, you want to do something else, that's a wasted investment. So when you are doing concrete, of course, we'll again get the architects to come and teach you construction, and then people that are experts to come and teach you the fine details. We have somebody that is coming on Saturday. Is one of the most qualified fish farmers that I've seen in a long time. and he has 20 years of experience. He's worked around 8 countries: Zimbabwe, Uganda, Mozambique. He's worked in Egypt, Pakistan, South Africa, Ghana. He's worked for the biggest, fish brands across Nigeria. So he has a lot of extensive practical experience. So if you have land and you think is earthen pond, he's going to be here on Saturday. Come with all of your questions, and then we can set up, and then he's going to mentor you through the process of building your stuff. Even if it's trampoline you want to do, he's going to mentor you throughout, so that you don't make terrible mistake and lose your, capital. Capital is very difficult to raise. So don't do try and error with your capital. You get, there's a science to, this, any business. Whether you are going to healthcare, there's a science to it. You must understand the market, you must have good knowledge. So he's coming on Saturday. So he's going to walk you through all of those things. So that's so we've talked about the factors: water quality, genetics, and disease. We would need to get an expert from vet animal science to come and tell you specifically. I'm a medical doctor, so I understand human disease. I don't understand fish disease to the level of expertise that I think I should be telling you, prescriptively what to do. So, but I'll get the expert. That's my job. I'll get the experts in that will come, and handle that subject matter for you. Tell you the little things. I watch on people say increase salinity. People, I don't know how they are coming about that, but you don't treat. So except you are farming what, like catfish is freshwater fish. So if you increase the salinity, you are going to dehydrate the fish. So I don't know where they are getting this information from. Tilapia, maybe you can go mix water, but they are not like, I think, salmon and the rest. They are not saltwater fish. You get, so you won't routinely see catfish in, seas and lakes and all of that. So we'll get the experts to walk you through. If you see disease, how do you isolate it? How do you whatever? And so we'll do a session on that. So yes, so guys, ask question, ideas you want us to address. I think we've finished lecture 3. We'll be moving to lecture 2, but it's good to, interact with the audience. If someone wants to come on stage briefly and, say a thing or two, share some of their idea, what's happening in their area, why not? We can add you on stage briefly. Don't be shy. All right, guys, anyone? Before we go to lecture 4. So I'll pass the mic back to type your question. I'll pass the mic back to, please do keep sharing, the thanks, Gerard. We're glad you're finding the information very useful. So I'll pass the mic back to Joshua to carry on with lecture 4.
Thanks for listening. I want to appreciate you. Now, let's continue with our lectures. Lecture 4. The factors influencing yield and economies. How does yield relate to carrying capacity? Survival, harvest frequency and restocking of the yield and economy. These are our outlines, the key outline that we need to look at. Now, a sustainable yield is calculated by dividing the carrying capacity by 2. In order for us to get a sustainable yield, we have to divide it by the carrying capacity. And then the carrying capacity, it depends on availability of abiotic factors such as water, oxygen, and space, and biotic factors such as food. Now, when we look at this graph, this is a graph of yield against time. And then when we look at it, it says the higher the yield particles, the higher the yield per unit area can be obtained by stocking optimal number of various size fingerlings, partial harvesting, and then restocking with a number of small fingers equivalent to the number of fish harvested. Now, look at it. When you look at this, this is a graph of yield against time, and then the carrying capacity is of different stages. When we talk about the fingerlings, then the partial harvesting, and then the restocking. Now, the maximum po ten tial yield is highest in water that has the highest carrying capacity per unit water. Of course, the yield is highest in water. Of course, because it's highest, you have to carry the highest carrying capacity. And the second point say that the smaller a marketable fish is at harvest, the higher the po ten tial yield from the unit of water for a given period of time. And then the yield per unit area can be increased by increasing stocking density or stocking crops, stocking wide range of fish size, and partial harvesting. Now let's look at the survival. The survival. High yield are obtained by stocking the maximum number of fish per unit of area that allow the fish to grow to marketable size within the growing period. Okay, so there's a minimum number of fish that need to be what? To be stocked in order for fish to reach its own maximum. So you cannot stock a fish beyond measures, meaning to say there is a pond, an 18 pond that contains certain number of fish, let me say 100 or let me say 150. But if you want to stock in more than that, of course it's going to affect the lifespan of the fish. Of course it's going to affect the growth rate. And then it's a immortality result in a reduction of fish below the optimal number per area, the yield will be reduced. It will be reduced. Now, the mortality, when when there's a reduction of fish, that means to say the yield will also reduce. So that is it. And then there are some factors that we need to that carry capacitor. We have to compare. Of course, we have to compare the factors. How Okay, what two factors does the carrying capacity compare to? We have the population size and the resource availability. Now, what does the population size say? It refers to the number of individuals in a given area or number of fish in a particular area. And the resource availability refers to the number of resources such as food, water, and shelter that are available to sustain that population. So these are the two factors that what carrying capacity depends on. Now let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of harvest frequency and restocking of yield. Number one, the partial harvesting and restocking can be continued for a number of years without draining the pond, conserving water, water fertility, and chemical supplement to the pond. Now, what does that mean? When you are harvesting and what? Restocking, it can be what? It can be continued over a number of years, but there are some conditions that it need to be met. Number one condition, you have to keep on conserving the water. We have to use water fertility, and we have to apply chemical into the pond. Of course, the disadvantage is that fish must be easily harvested with a seine. When we talk about seine, what do we mean? Talk about seine, what do we mean? We are talking about a fishing net which hang vertically in water with float at the top and weight at the bottom. That's what a seine mean. So fish must be easily harvested with a what? A seine. And the second advantage is that less influent flowing out release compared with yearly lead drilling. Fish year per unit area per year are high. Fish are available for harvest yearly, year round, improving farm cash flow and allowing processor to provide the consumer with fish year round. Then the last disadvantage we want us to look at, fish should not reproduce in a growth rate pond, or a predator for fish will what? Will be needed. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of harvest frequency and restocking of the fish. The economics. When we look at this graph, we are trying to look at the economic profit and yield. This is a graph of standing crop versus time, and of course the profit. And then this is the harvesting time and harvesting profit. Now look at this graph. It says the highest yield per unit area are not the most economical in pond receiving feed and fertilization. The highest economic profit are achieved at the production level below the point of maximum yield. Now, for the highest economic profit to be what? To be achieved at the production level, there must be a highest maximum yield for it to be what? To be achieved. But if the production level is below the point of maximum yield, of course, the profit will reduce. Now look at the profit. As it increases, it decrease. This is a standing curve and this is the profit. And then we look at the harvest time and maximum profit. Now there is a loss. When we look at the dashed line, there is a loss between the standing crop and between the revenue and the cost. So of course the red line, it indicates the revenue, and then when it comes, there is a loss at the end of the graph. So the economic profit and the harvest time and maximum profit try to show us the relationship between the yield and that of the maximum profit. So I think the lecture 4 is not, the slide is not that much. We have just four slides. So the slide is carrying how does a year relate to carrying capacity.
Do you need me to change it for you?
Sir?
Do you need the next slide?
Yes, I think the lecture 4 has only 4 slides.
Okay. So let's
Yes, sir.
do some economics here. This is a very important part. Okay, fine. Someone asked. Somebody say I'm speaking like a fish doctor. Okay. Okay. I think if you are starting, Elizabeth, yeah, I recommend you start with catfish. Catfish already, all the evidence show it's more durable. Generally, mortality rate is easier. What I would recommend, what if you email me, if this is your first fish business, I'll give you a mentor that will at least guide your first production. That way, it's unlikely that you suffer significant loss. So there are many risks. One of them is, you can think of one is, I talked about risks. One is the species that you stock. First, you need to get the structure right. So let's assume you've gotten the structure right. Yeah, so pick the structure right. Then you need to get the water right, isn't it? So let's assume you've gotten the water right. The next thing is you must get your record keeping right. Yeah, so the first thing you want to do, you want to get your structure. So decide how many fish you want to farm. If you are going to be the one producing all the labor, you don't have money to employ anybody. It's just you and yourself. Do not farm more than 1,000 fish. Preferably just stay at 500. Yeah, because the labor will be maybe too much for you. Or maybe it's you and your husband or family member. Because even family member, once it's not their business, they will not be worried like you. So that's one. So once you've gotten all these things right, you must ensure, where am I getting water from? Are you getting borehole water? Are you getting tap water? And all of that? How often will you get this water when you need it? So let's say you've gotten the water situation sorted. Then the first thing you want to do, why you need one of our mentors, is they'll help you make sure you buy the right fingerlings. You get me? So that you are knocking out genetic problems. Yeah, that's the first. The next thing is they teach you how to stock and keep records. How often do you change? And they monitor your mortality. You must keep record on mortality. Why? Because if you keep record on mortality and you're beginning to see high mortality, something is wrong. You must keep record on your feeding and what you are feeding with. Yeah. So if you are feeding twice and you are seeing mortality or you are seeing floating, you know. There are various easy ways to keep records. You can keep record using your Excel. You can keep record using Google Sheets, or you can keep your record using everyday biro and paper. There's a good video I saw on there's a good video I saw about it that a lady did, a Nigerian lady, was her name, digital marketing, whatever. I'm going to send you the link. It's on Facebook. She did a reel. I'm sharing it on the chat. Go and have a look. In terms of growth, both matters, Tukur. In terms of both the length and the weight matters. I'll come to that. Both the length and the weight matters in the early phase. Yeah, because you need length so that the fish has more bone to carry the weight. I don't know if you get what I mean. So you want fish that can gain good length, and then they can carry, so that they have bone to carry the weight, so that the weight is evenly distributed. So look at that. So you need to keep records. So when you are keeping records on your feeding day by day, you are keeping records of your mortality day by day. It's easy to spot. Yeah, it's easy to know, wow, this week mortality is more than what we know. So what is it? Is it the water? Is it the feeding? Is it disease? And quickly you can get experts to help you sort it out. So our email, everyone has my email. So this is my email and Sam. So just email Sam and copy me. because you easily get hold of Sam faster than myself. Anyway, Sam is even I'm doing Sam's job. Sam is the one running our educational academy. So email Sam. You can copy me. I'll just give you my email as well. So email Sam. Then that's my email. And then copy me. If you are starting out, we are going to give you a mentor. The mentors have a small charge, but it's not a lot. It's not something that is meant to collapse you, and they will guide you so you don't make any mistakes, too much mistakes. So when you are seeing mortality up, you are seeing you quickly can identify, and then you quickly also understand your feeding practices. So if you want to change something, you can go back, and that's how all of these graphs that you see in this training was gotten. Yeah. So Tukur, you asked about weight or length. In the beginning, both. Yeah. If you read about catfish can grow to as much as 4 to 5 feet. Yeah. So they can grow as much. Catfish in the wild can grow to as much as 4 to 5 feet. There's something called beyond table size farming. That's a different training we do. So some big farmers don't sell at table size, especially when, for instance, you are supplying high-end places in Abuja. They prefer big catfish that a number of people can eat. So they don't do production cycle of less than 6 months. They do production cycle. Some people farm their fish for up to a year. So for those, you need, weight and length. Yeah. So when you are buying your juveniles, when the lengths are generally less than 10 centimeters at juvenile, it's a red flag. Yeah, that's called stunting. Yeah. So it's a red flag because there's no length to distribute the weight. Good. Sam, do you want to add something? So for those, if you have a farm, just say I have a farm, because let me go back and show us something. For the last lecture, for the Saturday lecture, if you have a farm, what we want to do is do a practical that would involve you in your farm. So we would allow you come on stage, share your video, so we can the expert will actually talk you through practical things that you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, so on this Saturday lecture, that is the plan. Yeah, so you can see lecture 7 is feeding and nutrition and practical hands-on training. Yeah, so on that day, does anyone, if you have a farm or you are planning to have a fish farm, can you comment in the chat section? Let's know. Anyone? In this T-Pain era, nobody is planning to be self-employed. Guys, okay, yeah, I think we have some. Okay, yes. So if you I think Olajumoke, do you want to come on stage and tell us about the direction that you want to take? We can feature you on the Saturday one, so we'll see what's going on your end. We have an expert, like I said, more than 20 years experience. If you are happy to come on stage, just let me know. I think I should have your email. I can add you, and we'll hear your. Anyone that wants to come on stage, we have time now before we close this meeting. Let us know. You know, all work and no play. So let's let's hear from the audience. I think me and Sam we've tried today. We've been teaching all day. So while you guys are thinking, we'll wait. Don't forget to like the channel. Don't forget to subscribe so that you'll be notified. Don't forget. People are shy. Okay. I'll still give you guys some time. You need to be in. Good. So Peter too is about to start. Okay. Peter, do you want to come on stage and tell us something? Peter, take courage. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, oh. Shy, shy, shy. Okay. Anyway, I think today was a very good one. Thanks to everyone that attended. I'm going to pass the mic to Sam to give us the closing remarks. Again, if you have questions, ask, because we are rounding up. We're about to close the session. Sam, over to you.
We want to appreciate everyone, and then we hope that you enjoy attending our event as much as we enjoy putting it together. We want to thank you for coming. You have come a very long way since the last time we are all here together. Before we all go, I want to appreciate everyone for coming, those who have dedicated their time to listen to this lecture. I hope we meet in the next series of our lecture. We still have lecture 3, lecture 4, lecture 5, lecture 6, and lecture 7. I must believe that you benefit a lot in this lecture. And the most important thing, after the lecture, let's just not go and keep the knowledge that we've learned, but rather we should put it into practice. We should start developing on ourselves. By developing on ourselves, of course, it's going to help us along the way. It's going to boost our self-esteem, our self-image. Let's try and put what we have learned into practice. May God help us all in Jesus' name.
Thanks, everyone. So don't forget, apply the knowledge, use the knowledge. Knowledge has a long way that it can help you. And thank you. So we'll see you again on Saturday, yeah, which is going to be a richer and productive, more productive session. Do not forget, all of these videos are available free on the channel. So don't forget, like the video, subscribe, go to the channel, watch it at your convenience. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.